So here we have Mr. Sriram today evening, and it is my pleasure and honor to welcome Mr. Sriram to enlighten us on our very own crazy city, Chennai. And I'm sure many of us still call it Madras. I'm sure you all know Sriram more than what he claims on his Twitter as a part entrepreneur, part historian, part writer, and part crackpot. Born in England and having traveled across the globe for education and career, it is Chennai where his heart is. Because it is his passion for his music and heritage that must have inspired him to author or co-author around 10 books between 2008 and 2012. That is a marvelous thing. And this is apart from the regular columns he writes in the Hindu called The Hidden Histories, being an editor of Madras Musings, and also the principal organizer of the Madras Day celebration. Today, I'm sure he's going to take us through another great heritage walk through our crazy city. So over to you, Mr. Sriram, and we eagerly wait to hear some more interesting facts, like what we read today about the Lord Labakdas and the Raja of Panangal last week, that we have read in your columns week after week, and the Mama in the Shatabdi train who was talking about, yeah, we've all read about the three sons of this Mama that he was talking in the Shatabdi, and the Mami who was just complaining about the caterer. And so we like to hear more on this. We've read all this on the Hindu and the Twitter that we follow you. So over to you, Sriram, today. Thank you.
Good evening, friends, and thank you for your patience while we were setting this up. Every time the laptop comes to a particular place, it's like a new marriage for it. Sometimes it takes an instantaneous liking to the LCD projector. Sometimes it has an absolute hatred and nothing will make it speak to it. And at times in the middle, there'll be a divorce. That also happens. And sometimes they live happily ever after. So this is a story of Chennai, not so much of history as it is one man's observation about this city. And I will request you to pardon me because during the course of this presentation, you may find lots of things that are politically insensitive, politically incorrect. There may be, things that are considered unhumorous today. But then Chennai has been around for 377 years, long before political correctness, gender identity, racial discrimination and things like that. In fact, we identified racial discrimination in a very big way, long time ago. So I'll just take you through this presentation on this city. I don't think any of you should take any notes on it because this has got no value whatsoever. Just enjoy yourself after a hard day's work and relax and think of this as a study of your city and go back home at the end of it, after dinner, of course. And somebody said that the bar will not be open till I finish. So you have to stay back.
Adi Attari!
He's walking down Mount Road, as you can see, with the taxis following him.
தமிழ் பேச ஆளும் இல்லை மெதுவா போறவுக யாரும் இல்லை இங்கே சரியா தமிழ் பேச ஆளும் இல்லை ஆம்பளைக்கும் பொம்பளைக்கும் வித்தியாசம் தோணல்லே ஆம்பளைக்கும் பொம்பளைக்கும் வித்தியாசம் தோணல்லே அநியாயம் ஆத்தாடியோ.
So with that introduction to our city by Nagesh, let's get on with the rest of it. Now, you'll always find some crazy signboard somewhere or the other. In Alsa Mall, you've got a wife-to-be school. Nobody has as yet identified as to what this is supposed to be, but evidently it is doing good business because it continues to exist for so many years. And it just goes to show that despite this veneer of conservatism that we have, you sonda business pandrana, pisama nalla government vela sendirkalam illiyo, letta or IT company poirkalam, none of that. Everybody wants to become a businessman at heart. So you've got a wife-to-be school. Now, ours is a city that prides itself on its religious tolerance. We have never had a single inter-religious riot in our entire history. No Hindu-Muslim riot, no Muslim-Christian riot, no Sardar versus Hindu riot or anything of that kind. And we've had all our religious symbols coexisting very, very peacefully. So you've got these steps leading up to St. Thomas Mount, and there is a story, or rather there is a legend, I should put it that way, that one of the apostles of Jesus, St. Thomas, came to Madras shortly after the crucifixion, preached here, was martyred here, and then finally, the St. Thomas Mount became a shrine for him, as the San Thome Basilica became a shrine for him. And the Roman Catholic Church believes that there are only 3 churches or 3 cathedrals across the whole world where an apostle of Jesus is supposed to have been buried. One of them is Santiago de Compostela in Spain. Then you've got St. Peter's Basilica in Rome, and you've got San Thome Basilica in Madras. These are the 3 locations. And so you have these steps. The steps were not built by Roman Catholics. It was built by an Armenian Christian called Koja Petrus Uskan. And then you've got the Parthasarathi Swami temple, the 8th century temple with a brilliant 10-foot idol of the Lord as Venkata Krishna, the only representation of Mahavishnu with a handlebar mustache in the whole world. And which is why all Dravidians have handlebar mustaches. Then you've got the Kapalishwara temple standing where, moved, they say, from where the San Thome Basilica stands today. But we don't have a Babri Masjid, Ram Janmabhoomi kind of issue. We've taken it as part of history that, the temple has shifted for various reasons, and we accept the temple where it is, we accept the church where it is. We also rejoice in the fact that the temple tank was actually a Muslim land. It was given by the Nawab of Arcot to the Kapalishwara temple under the condition that the Muslims should be allowed to use the tank whenever they feel like, and even today on Muharram Day, you'll find Muslims coming to that water body. So we have never worn secularism as a label. We have practiced it as a way of life. But we don't have inter-religious strifes, but just look at the number of intra-religious strifes we've had. Mudaliyar versus Chettiar, Nadar versus Thevar, Iyengar versus Iyer, Vadakalai versus Tenkalai, where everything will go to court. What is the size of the namam that the elephant should wear? And finally, a British-born judge had to decide. By the time he decided, the elephant had died. And then you've had Roman Catholics versus Protestants, all kinds of riots. So we have always had intra-religious strife of a very high order, but outwardly, we are all very peace-loving. Now I come to the other great symbol of Madras or Chennai. Every spot where 3 streets intersect, you will find a Ganesha. Now, there are 2 reasons for this. The sane and the practical reason is that you don't want anybody to come to your street corner and do, and you don't want him to go and do that either. So these are the 2 things that you would like to avoid. So you have a Ganesha. The other reason apparently is that all misfortune is brought on your household if you are in an intersection of 3 streets without a Ganesha being present. So you put a Ganesha, which is originally a glazed tile. Before that, you had written, "Do not uran here." But after that, "Do not uran hair," everybody was uraning hair. So then you changed it and you put a Ganesha there, a glazed tile. After 5 days, your servant maid began putting flowers on the Ganesha. Then 1 week later, you found some school students were coming and touching the Ganesha before. It's only a glazed tile even now. Touching the Ganesha before going to school. One day, college students come to your house and say, "We want to replace the glazed tile with a stone idol." So you are very pleased. Because how many college students worship Ganesha, you wonder. So you want to number religion, sir. Our culture is all going to the dogs. Today we must encourage these boys. So, you get them to put up a Ganesha. Then the next year, 5 pistas from the local political party come home and say, "Naina, ஒரு புளியார் சதுர்த்தி கொண்டாடலான்னு பார்க்குறோம் வீட்டு வாசல்ல." So you don't have the guts to say no to these 4 pistas who have arrived. So you immediately accept that you will celebrate Ganesh Chaturthi. So a pandal is put up in front of the stone idol. In the morning, mantrams are belted out very loudly. Puja is done. In the evening, there is music, "Utikine pottukalam" kind of thing. And you have shut all your doors and windows in the hope that, this festival will come to an end. Next day morning, you find that the pistas are collecting money to build that Ganesha into a temple. Then every month on Chaturthi day, the loudspeaker makes its appearance. 1 year later, you vacate your house and leave the particular place. Ganesha stays on. Now, despite all this Ganesha worship, this is supposed to be the home of rationalism. This is where the atheistic movement began. This is where the Justice Party came in 1916, exactly 100 years ago. And this is where inclusion really began in the whole country. Today we are talking about the fact that, there are Mayavatis, there are all kinds of people talking about inclusion. But inclusivity began in this particular city. It began where the city center mall is standing today. That was a Virahu Totti Totam. That is where the Justice Party first met and decided that it is not enough that the Brahmins take up all the jobs that are available. We must have inclusion by way of the non-Brahmins, and we must also have inclusion by way of the Christians and the Muslims. And then in 1921, when the Justice Party came to power, in the first ever elections, in 1921, we had a limited franchise election, and the Justice Party came to power, and they enacted what was called the Communal GO of 1921, whereby 25% of all government jobs was reserved for Brahmins, 25 for non-Brahmins, 25 for Christians, and 25 for Muslims. And that is how inclusivity really began. From the Justice Party, you got the self-respect movement, which questioned the presence of God, and which said that atheism, any rational thinker would not believe in God. Then you've had the DK that came out of the self-respect movement, then you've got the DMK, then you've got the ADMK, then you've got the MDMK, DDMK, MMDK, DMDK, and so on and so forth. The only constant is MK. He is like Planck's constant. Everything else has changed over the years. Now, despite all this rationalism and self-respect, you have got Pullayar. And then whenever a political leader comes, this is how you welcome him, with Velli Kodam and Mavale and people dancing in front of it and Ata, Maria, Ata, that kind of thing going on. Now, in any movie, no matter whether the movie was shot in 1935 or 1945, 55, 65, 2005, 2015, there are only 3 symbols for this city. One is the Central Station, one is the Egmore Station, the third is the LIC building. Now, the heroine's mother, when she is coming in search of the heroine who has gone to the city many years ago, will come with a bundle of clothes. Why she cannot afford a suitcase is something that I have never understood. But she will come with a bundle of clothes, and then she will get down and they will show, she will be coming from Trichy or Tirunelveli, but they will show Central Station. And then she will go and visit the hero's father, who in this city where the temperature is 45 degrees will be wearing a silk dressing gown and will be smoking a pipe and not be sweating at all. And he will be coming down a double staircase like that. So this is how our films are made. Now, how the heroine's mother came with a cloth bundle. And Mohan stole the best story of my entire presentation by saying it before me. But Mohan, I will forgive you and I extract my revenge on another day. Now, the point is that the English, Francis Day came, and as Mohan said, he said the weather was fantastic. He said all kinds of things, and he made them take over this city, and he made it their capital. In fact, this is the first British possession anywhere in India. Prior to this, they did not have any piece of land which they could call their own. And the very interesting thing is when they came in 1639, probably in the month of July or the month of August, there is a certain doubt in that whole thing. There were 2 Englishmen, there was only one actually, Francis Day, and then his boss Andrew Cogan came from Machilipatnam in Andhra, and they had a translator called Berry Timmappa, and his gunpowder maker, a man called Nagabatan. These were the 4 people who really founded Madras. There is no memorial for Cogan or Day, but Berry Timmappa, interestingly, has a memorial to himself, and that is the temple called the Chennakesava Perumal Temple, which is in Georgetown. Chennakesava, Chennava Mallishwara Swami temples, built by Berry Timmappa's family, but not where it stands today. It stood where the High Court is, and then it shifted to where it is now. So Berry Timmappa helped Francis Day acquire the city. How did he acquire it? They negotiated with the Nayak of Poonamalli, and the Nayak of Poonamalli gave them a grant for 2 square miles, which is where Georgetown, High Court and all stands today. Now, they signed the contract with them, and then they started construction of Fort St. George, and by 1640, Fort St. George was finished. Only then they discovered that the Nayak of Poonamalli was not the real owner of this place. So they had signed the whole transaction, so it was a bit of a Benami. So he was actually representing the Nayak of Vandivash or some such thing, I forget where. That man had to be gone and met up with and bribed heavily so that he would then confirm the transaction. After some time, the Raja of Chandragiri came. He was in Vijay, he was near Tirupati. And he said that, who the hell is this Nayak of Punamalli? I am the real owner of the place. So another delegation then went to Raja of Chandragiri and bribed him. He renewed the contract. Then the Sultan of Golconda said, who the hell is this Raja of Chandragiri? I am the owner. Finally, in 1703 or so, Aurangzeb came down from Delhi and said, what the hell is going on? I am the real owner of this entire city. So once again, bribe. So Benami transaction was the real starting point of Madras, which is why every property deal in this city, even now, is a Benami transaction. So we are paying our tribute to Francis Day and Andrew Cogan even now, because we are following exactly the same business practices. So now, when we come to this particular city, among the many lies that Francis Day said, and one that Mohan did not remember, is the fact that among the other things that he said was that Madras has a fantastic harbor, natural harbor where ships can come and sail right up to the coast. Nobody knew that he was lying because no ship could come up to 2 miles of the city. They had to stop in the middle of the waters in a place called Madras Roads. And for 200 years, between 1639 and actually 250 years, till 1875, the ships would stop 2 miles in the sea. Even now, when you're walking in Marina